in all these auditions, you got to pump that nobody knows him in and out like I do. You can have an actor do their research on YouTube or Wikipedia, whatever they got to look up. But I've been doing 20 plus years research on my characters.
Let's be honest about something the industry never says out loud. Most of these kids didn't earn their first opportunity. They inherited it. The question nobody asks is what they did with it after the door swung open. Because getting in is one thing, but staying in when your last name is known in the industry is a completely different fight. We have the most exciting father-son pairs who had to find a way for them while the public were still watching. Some of them won, others never recovered. Let's start with some acting legends. They grew up with applause that wasn't meant for them. 20, Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez. Martin Sheen wasn't even Martin Sheen. His real name is Ramon Estevez, and he changed it in 1958 because, as he later admitted, having a Hispanic surname in New York at that time was not an advantage. This did not stop him from building a legendary career in Badlands, Apocalypse Now, and others, but still, that name haunted him. So when Emilio started to audition, and his agent pushed him to use Emilio Sheen, Martin begged him not to. Emilio listened and kept Estevez. He later became the unlikely leader of the 1980s Brat Pack and carried the name his grandfather always hoped would be on a marquee. 19. Donald Sutherland and Kiefer Sutherland. Donald never won an Oscar, but somehow he appeared in half of the greatest films of the 20th century. He was in MASH, Clute, and even Ordinary People. His son, on the other hand, took a different road. Where Donald specialized in complex, slow-burn character work, Kiefer became a genre machine. He was punchy, intense, and built for television, in a way his father simply wasn't. He became a global household name when he starred in Jack Bauer. 18. Tom Hanks and Colin Hanks. Tom Hanks is famously known for having 2 Oscars back-to-back for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. This is really memorable because it's something that only one other actor in history has done. His son Colin has built a completely respectable career in Fargo, Dexter, and Orange County, and nobody really talks about how hard that must be. He didn't fail, he is just being quietly good while his dad is considered one of the greatest actors who ever lived. 17. Clint Eastwood and Scott Eastwood. Clint is not just famous, he is seen as a visual archetype because of features like the squint, the silence, and the infamous Western landscape behind him. That image alone is worth billions, but it is also a trap for his son Scott. That's because Scott looks so much like his father that it has become the only thing people see. He's done solid work in The Longest Ride and Suicide Squad, but every interview circles back to the cheekbones and the jawline. 16. Jerry Stiller and Ben Stiller. Jerry Stiller was the kind of comedian that actors studied. But while actors studied it, everyone else enjoyed his explosive comedy. But his son, Ben, did not just inherit the funny gene, he turned it into something better. He used the talent to direct and create masterpieces like Zoolander, The Royal Tenenbaums, and Tropic Thunder. 15. Kirk Douglas and Michael Douglas. After Kirk starred in Spartacus in 1960, he cemented himself as one of the defining icons of Hollywood's golden age. His son Michael didn't just follow him into acting. He produced One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which won the Oscar for Best Picture, and then won his own acting Oscar for Wall Street in 1987. 14. Denzel Washington and John David Washington. John grew up watching his father become one of the greatest actors of his generation. Training Day, Malcolm X, Glory, and Fences. And instead of walking straight into auditions, he put on a helmet. He spent years as a running back and even played in NFL Europe. Later, he said he did it because he was terrified of people thinking it was handed to him. It wasn't until a ruptured Achilles ended his football career that he came back to acting, secretly auditioned, and told people his dad was in construction. Still, he excelled in the industry. The voices that raised them were already immortal, still they set a new standard. 13. Bob Marley and Ziggy Marley. Bob Marley is just not known as a musician, and that's because he became a symbol of resistance and Jamaica itself. The most shocking part is that he did it before the world even heard of the word reggae. He died in 1981 at just 36 years old, which means Ziggy Marley grew up carrying a name that was already a religion. But Ziggy didn't run from it. He went ahead to create the Melody Makers and won his first Grammy in 1988. 12. John Lennon and Sean Lennon. Sean Lennon was 5 years old when his father was shot dead outside their apartment building in New York. 5. And yet he grew up saying things like, the question he gets most isn't about his own music, it's about his dad. To learn the guitar, Sean played Beatles songs alone in the apartment where his father was murdered. He used music as a path back to someone he barely got to know. 11. Alan Thicke and Robin Thicke. Alan was warm, reliable, and like the dad everyone wanted on TV. He wrote theme songs for shows like Different Strokes and The Facts of Life, and then played the perfect father on Growing Pains for 7 years. His son, on the other hand, became something different. Robin is known as that chart-topping, boundary-pushing, and controversial creative. Blurred Lines in 2013 was one of the best-selling singles in history and also one of the most debated. 10. Travis Barker and Landon Barker. During his time, Travis redefined what it meant to be a rock drummer. He was technical, tattooed, and somehow always relevant across decades. But his son Landon is doing something his father never had to navigate. He is building a music career while also being an influencer, a tabloid fodder and the stepson of Kylie Jenner's sister. They chose to become nothing just to make a name for themselves. 9. Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Sr. was a 2-time World Series champion and a 3-time All-Star, a genuinely great baseball player by any standard. But his son made him look like a warm-up act, and Griffey Sr. was completely fine with that. Jr. was first drafted at 17 and made his MLB debut at 19. His father joined him on the Seattle Mariners in 1990, but by then the roles had reversed. However, on August 31st of that year, they became the first father and son in baseball history to appear in the same lineup. 8. Archie Manning and Peyton Manning. Archie Manning spent 14 seasons in the NFL, was sacked 337 times behind bad offensive lines, never made the playoffs, and was still somehow beloved everywhere he went. However, he constantly said that he was not his son's coach. Peyton has won 5 MVP awards and 2 Super Bowls and has become arguably the most prepared quarterback who ever played the game. 7. LeBron James and Bronny James. LeBron James spent years publicly saying that his dream was to one day share an NBA court with his son. Most people thought it was a sweet thing to say until it actually happened. During the 2024 NBA draft, Bronny James was selected 55th overall by the Lakers, and while people were still debating if he earned it, he took to the court with his father. And on October 22, 2024, they became the first father-son duo to play in the same NBA game. Their comparison started before the camera was pointed at them. 6. Dennis Quaid and Jack Quaid. For decades, Dennis was reliably great in things like The Parent Trap, The Day After Tomorrow, Far From Heaven, and others. His son Jack built something different. The Boys on Amazon turned him into one of the most talked-about actors in the streaming era. And this could be because he played Huey Campbell with a kind of emotional rawness that people did not see coming. 5. James Caan and Scott Caan. When James played Sonny Corleone in The Godfather, it was considered one of the most explosive performances in film history. But then, he spent the rest of his career chasing roles that were worthy of that moment. Scott grew up watching that pressure and still chose TV. Unlike his dad, he starred in Hawaii Five-0, a long-running show that gave him a decade of consistent work without the constant comparison to a single iconic scene. 4. Stephen Gyllenhaal and Jake Gyllenhaal. During Stephen's time, he directed serious and well-regarded films and TV for decades. And his son Jake became one of the defining actors of his generation. He starred in movies like Donnie Darko, Brokeback Mountain, Nightcrawler, and honestly, his performance in that last one that should have won an Oscar and didn't, which still bothers people. 3. Ice Cube and O'Shea Jackson Jr. This is unlike anything else on this list. I say that because one day, Ice Cube walked into his kitchen and told his son, "I need you to play me," while the boy was studying screenwriting at USC and had never acted professionally. Because of this, O'Shea Jackson Jr. spent 2 years auditioning for the role of his own father. He watched how his dad stood, how he moved, what was behind the scowl that the whole world recognized. Finally, he got the part and delivered one of the most assured debut performances in recent memory. 2. Will Smith and Jaden Smith. Because of movies like Men in Black, Ali, and others, Will became one of the most bankable stars in film history. And then he did something shocking. He cast his own son in the Karate Kid remake and produced it. Of course, people had a lot to say about that, but what happened after was more interesting. Jaden ended up carving out a genuinely weird, boundary-ignoring music and art career that had nothing to do with his father's version of fame and everything to do with his own. 1. Charlie Chaplin and Charles Chaplin Jr. You can't talk about cinema without mentioning Charlie Chaplin. He is known for The Tramp and conveying emotions without using words. His son, Charles, grew up mostly without him. He tried acting in the 1950s and appeared in 13 films. He even acted with his father in Limelight. Unfortunately, he never broke through and never became famous. And that is all 20. Before you go, quick question. Which of these sons do you think actually outshone their father? Drop a name for us in the comments section. Also, did we miss a pair that should have been on this list? Let us know below. And if you are not subscribed yet, now is a good time because there is more of this coming.